Good evening and welcome to this edition of Just the News. I'm Faye D'Souza. Let's get straight to tonight's headlines. The government has said that there is no indication that children will be severely affected in the third wave of COVID. Experts, meanwhile, have already called for preparations of the third wave of COVID, which they believe will hit India later this year. The government has said that children are not immune to the infection, but the impact will be minimal. Niti Aayog member Dr. V.K. Paul on Monday said that if children are affected by COVID, either there will be no symptoms or there will be minimum symptoms. They will not require hospitalization generally. He also went on to say health infrastructure should be ramped up to treat COVID-19 among children, but it is also most important not to let them become part of the transmission chain in the first place. Of course, we've had several experts who've said that children have tested positive in this wave because it's not possible for them to be isolated from the adults when the homes in question are very small in our country. India has become the third country in the world after the US and Brazil to record more than 3 lakh COVID deaths altogether. In the last 24 hours, India reported 2.22 lakh COVID cases and 4,454 deaths. Data experts believe, though, that the actual numbers could be much higher than this, than the deaths reported by the government, because many people do not die in hospital or are not tested before they die, so they're not counted as COVID deaths. Testing and reporting of COVID cases in rural areas is poor. Out of the new fatalities reported by the government, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Kerala, Karnataka remain the worst affected states. The centre has now decided to allow for walk-in registrations of vaccines for adults between the ages of 18 to 44 in government-run COVID vaccination centres. The Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has stated that walk-in registrations will now be opened up in order to prevent vaccine wastage. So that it comes with a bit of a catch. The press release said that towards the end of the day, some doses will be left unutilized in case the online appointees don't turn up. In such cases, on-site registrations of a few beneficiaries may be necessary to minimize wastage of vaccines. The centre, however, left it up to the state governments and the union territories to make the final decision. This comes at a time when the massive shortage of vaccines have been reported from across the country, and several states have in fact halted vaccinations for the age group of 18 to 44. The central government has not addressed how that shortage will be solved. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Monday has said that the Delhi government spoke with both Pfizer and Moderna, and both companies have refused to sell vaccinations directly to the state government of Delhi. Kejriwal said both companies have refused to sell vaccines. They said they will deal directly with the government of India alone. We appeal to the centre to import vaccines and distribute it among the states. Punjab on Sunday said Moderna refused to deal with the state government as well. The state nodal officer for vaccinations in Punjab, Vikas Garg, quoted by ANI, saying only Moderna has replied till now, but the firm has refused to deal with state governments. Remember, the central government had urged state governments to float global tenders and import on their own to solve the shortage problem for vaccines, but it now turns out these companies are not interested in dealing piecemeal with various state governments. Pfizer has released a statement saying the company will supply COVID vaccines only to the central government. Quoted by ANI, the statement says Pfizer will supply COVID vaccines only to central governments and supranational organizations for deployment of national immunization programs. It also added that allocation of doses and implementation plan within a country is a decision for local governments based on relevant health authority guidance. End quote. Following Mr. Ramdev of Patanjali making statements that said that allopathy is a stupid science and many people were dying of COVID due to allopathic drugs like Remdesivir and Fabiflu, Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has said the way Mr. Ramdev has withdrawn his statements against allopathic medicine and halted the controversy on the issue is laudable and shows his maturity. Now, Mr. Ramdev wrote a letter to Dr. Harshvardhan where he said, and I quote, "We do not oppose modern medicine, science and allopathy. We believe that allopathy has shown immense progress in surgery and the life-saving system and has served humanity. My statement has been quoted as part of a WhatsApp message that I was reading during a meeting of volunteers. I am sorry if it has hurt anyone's sentiment." The Indian Medical Association, which is the largest association of allopathic doctors in this country has sent a legal notice to Mr. Ramdev for defaming scientific medicine, and also urged Dr. Harshvardhan to act upon these statements. Taking to Twitter, the Union Minister for Health said, and I quote, "The way Yoga Guru Ramdev withdrew his statements against allopathic medicine and halted the controversy on the issue is laudable and shows his maturity. We have to show the world that the people of India have faced COVID-19. Of course, our victory is certain," end quote. Of course, the question does remain and is being asked that since Ramdev's statements were made in Hindi and were carried across the country by various news channels and on the internet, should his withdrawal of that statement also be put out in the same manner? Because so far he has just issued a letter written directly to Harshvardhan. In a shocking incident in Uttar Pradesh, 200 villagers in Sisoda village of Uttar Pradesh's Barabanki district fled from their homes and jumped into the rivers to avoid being vaccinated. Reports said that only 14 people could be vaccinated in the village, which has 1,500 residents. According to senior district officials, it was due to a lack of awareness, and we will soon launch an awareness campaign in the village. Most of the villagers, according to some reports, said this was a poison injection and they didn't want to take it. According to the Deccan Herald, several health workers also faced problems earlier to persuade people to take the vaccine. This is an example of what happens when there are unqualified, unscientific statements made about allopathic medicine. The Delhi High Court on Monday directed the Drug Controller of India to probe the procurement and distribution of FabiFlu by BJP MP Gautam Gambhir and to take necessary action. The court noted that there was a shortage of the drug while it was being distributed by Mr. Gambhir, and the bench observed that he is a national player. We are sure he had good intentions, but the way he went about it, he's actually done a disservice, unintentionally maybe, but this is not done, end quote. The court also noted the procurement of oxygen cylinders, I beg your pardon, by Aam Aadmi Party MLAs Preeti Tomar and Praveen Kumar should also be looked into, and has directed an inquiry to be undertaken by the Drug Authority into that as well. Uttarakhand's COVID curfew has now been extended till the 1st of June. Shops selling essential commodities will remain open from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. during the curfew. Uttarakhand has reported 3,050 cases and 71 deaths. There are also widespread reports about the fact that there are many districts in the state of Uttarakhand which have no testing centres at all, and citizens have to travel a great distance in order to simply get tested. In other news away from COVID today, in a joint statement issued yesterday, 12 opposition party leaders have backed the Samyukta Kisan Morcha's call for a nationwide protest on the 26th of May. The Samyukta Kisan Morcha has issued a call for a Black Day on the 26th of May to mark 6 months of the ongoing farmers' protest against the 3 farm laws. The joint statement signed by Congress leader Sonia Gandhi, former Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda, NCP's Chief Sharad Pawar, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, and Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren, among others. Farmers have been protesting against those farm laws since September last year. In the meantime, 3,000 Rapid Action Force personnel were deployed in various parts of Hisar district in Haryana, and roads were barricaded to stop protesters from reaching the residence of the IG in Hisar range. The protest was against criminal cases that have been filed against more than 350 farmers last week, and this is according to India Today. On the 16th of May, 350 farmers were booked under multiple charges, including attempts to murder, rioting, unlawful assembly, and flouting of COVID guidelines, as they reportedly protested in Hisar outside the temporary coronavirus hospital, disrupting Haryana Chief Minister and BJP leader Manohar Lal Khattar's visit to inaugurate that hospital. The CBI has approached the Supreme Court in an appeal against the Calcutta High Court's order that directed that the 4 TMC leaders arrested by the CBI be placed under house arrest instead of sending them to jail. The 4 politicians of West Bengal, 2 sitting ministers of the TMC, Firad Hakim and Subrata Mukherjee, and TMC legislators Madan Mitra and former MLA Sovan Chatterjee. The 4 politicians were arrested last week. The TMC and Mamata Banerjee are questioning the timing of this arrest and saying that it's just in reaction to their victory in the state elections. The Delhi High Court, in the meantime, has adjourned the plea for the recognition of same-sex marriage under our law to the 6th of July. Now, this comes after the central government was asked by the court to give their response to the demand for legal recognition of same-sex marriage. The central government, represented by Mr. Tushar Mehta, who is the Solicitor General, basically turned around and said that this needs to be adjourned because only extremely urgent matters should be heard based on the High Court circular. Senior advocate Dr. Menaka Guruswamy, arguing for same-sex marriage, said the matter is of urgent requirement because we are left out of hospitals and medical treatment, she said. To this, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta responded saying, law officers are struggling with COVID issues. Right now, as a government, our focus is on the real urgent issues. You don't need a marriage certificate for hospitals. Nobody is dying because they don't have marriage certificates, end quote. Just to put this into perspective, for same-sex couples who do not have the legitimacy of a marriage certificate, if one of the partners is in hospital, the other partner has no right to or access to any of the information about how their partner is doing. They have no right to make any sort of medical decisions about their partner, irrespective of how long they've been together, because they're not legally next of kin. If one of the partners does in fact pass away because of COVID, the other partner has no right to make any decisions at all because they are not legally next of kin. In Lakshadweep, there is now widespread discontentment over the latest draft regulation for the creation of a Lakshadweep Development Authority. The islanders see this legislation as arbitrary and completely out of sync with social, political and environment realities in the island. The latest draft regulation for the creation of a Lakshadweep Development Authority has been widely resented because they say that it is being done at the behest of real estate interests that are seeking to basically usurp all of the small holdings that the islanders have right now. According to the last census, 94.8% of the people who live on that island are part of scheduled tribes, and they all have small patches of land on which they function really as fisher folk, and they live off that land. The islanders have written to the administrator demanding the proposed regulation be withdrawn, but this is the latest in a series of problems in Lakshadweep. The new regulations also give the government the authority to take up land, to move people off their land, to use land for development as they see fit. The islanders believe that this is against their interest. The government has also banned the slaughter of cows, the sale of beef and the buying of beef, which again the people of Lakshadweep argue is not in their culture or their interest. And the administrator in question had changed the SOP regarding the management of COVID in the island, which is being argued by the islanders has resulted in a sharp spike of COVID in the island, which was completely untouched by COVID in the previous phase. Now, the legislator in question is one Mr. Praful Patel, who used to be a leader of the BJP and the Home Minister of Gujarat at the time when the current Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He was appointed to the position of Administrator of Lakshadweep in December last year, which was a breakaway from how that position was appointed up till then. He was the first politician appointed to that position, which until then was held purely by IAS officers. Moving on to news coming in from the world of business right now. Fuel prices have been hiked for the 12th time this month. Petrol has been increased by 17 paise per litre and diesel by 29 paise per litre. Currently, petrol in Mumbai costs 99 rupees and 32 paise per litre, and diesel is at 91 rupees and 1 paise per litre. Delhi now charges 93 rupees and 4 paise for petrol and 83 rupees and 80 paise for diesel. Just a quick reminder, the price of petrol and diesel impacts everything that comes into our city. So all essential commodities, irrespective of how much of it you buy, whether it's a little bit of milk or a lot of rice or a lot of wheat, all of those prices will increase, especially of vegetables, because they're all moved on the back of trucks that are fueled by diesel. This is also likely to drastically hurt the livelihood of truck drivers as it shrinks their margin on every trip that they make. It's also going to hurt delivery personnel who use two-wheelers to deliver e-commerce, who deliver food, who deliver medicines and groceries, because they use two-wheelers that function largely on petrol. News coming in from across the world right now. Moderna CEO Stéphane Bancel on Sunday said a third vaccine dose should be given to people at risk. He told the French newspaper Journal du Dimanche, we believe that our vaccine will be effective for a comparable period, except that the arrival of variants increases the threat level. This is why we must anticipate and vaccinate all people at risk with a third dose by the end of the summer. In particular, residents of nursing homes who have received their first dose at the beginning of the year. End quote. Singapore has provisionally approved the use of a breath analyzer test that detects COVID and gives results in 1 minute. The test works like a standard breathalyzer test that police use to check for drunk driving. In the clinical trial phase right now, the breathalyzer test achieved 90% accuracy according to the company. Breathonex is the company, which is a spin-off of the National University of Singapore, has said it is now working with the Health Ministry to run the deployment trial of the technology at one of the city-states borders with Malaysia. News coming in from the world of sports right now. The 2021 edition of the Asia Cup for cricket will now be held in 2023, considering the packed schedule and the constantly changing schedule due to COVID. In a statement, the Asian Cricket Council has said the board accordingly has considered the matter very carefully and determined that there's only one way ahead, that is to postpone the event. It would therefore be only feasible that this edition of the tournament be held in 2023. End quote. One piece of positive news before we leave you for the day. A 19-year-old student in Mumbai, Nihal Singh Adarsh, has developed a compact ventilation system for PPE kits in order to provide some relief to healthcare workers who have to wear them for long periods of time. Nihal is a second-year student of the KJ Somaiya College of Engineering and has developed a belt-like wearable ventilation system for PPE kits. He's named it the Cove Tech ventilation system, and it comes with a lithium-ion battery that lasts 6 to 8 hours. His mother, who is a doctor, was the inspiration for this innovation. Talking about it, he said that this ventilation system is like you're sitting under a fan, even inside the PPE suit. It takes the surrounding air, filters it and pushes it inside the PPE suit. Normally, due to lack of ventilation, it's hot and humid and within the suit, and our solution offers a way out of that uncomfortable experience. Well, thank you to people like Nihal and all of the other young people working so hard to help out at a time when the country is going through a crisis. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, leave us comments on how you believe we can improve this service for you so we can do a better job of bringing you the news every night. Good night.